Hey everybody, Ashton here with 10 Cents, and today we're going to be taking a look at a house that specializes in clones. It is not Armaf, it is not Afnan, it is not Rasasi, it is not Al Haramain. Today we're going to be taking a look at La Rive. I should let you guys know that Max Aroma reached out to me and asked if I wanted to take a look at these. I know that Cubano has already checked these out. I'm sure you're aware of him. If you're not, I'll leave a link in the description. As you can see, I have not opened any of these. I've got a good idea of what some of these are going to be replicas of, but I haven't looked that up either. So let's get into this and see how they check out. Also want to make you guys aware that Max Aroma has set up a coupon code, Gents. I will also leave that in the description, which will get you 15% off of any La Rive fragrances from their website. These are super duper cheap. As I understand it, these are pretty much all $15 and under. So yeah, if you want any of these, just do that. All right, let's rip into these. I'm gonna skip this part. This is not going smooth. Fragrance 1, La Rive Brave. I wonder what this is. So what I'm gonna do is just spray it onto a tester strip. I'll smell the opening, then I'll set it aside. I'll come back a little bit later and test the dry down because that's super important, right? Right. So there's the bottle, La Rive Brave, Eau de Toilette. Let's check it out. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's trying to be Invictus. It smells a lot soapier, kind of like detergent. Not soap like clean, like Infusion Dome kind of soap. Soap like clothing detergent kind of soap. I don't know what to say. It's just kind of clothing detergent soap. What's supposed to be grapefruit and ambroxan, I imagine, and it smells like it cost $10. I'll say the initial opening to Brave is not very good. Maybe 5-10 minutes in, that initial kind of clothing detergent smell is gone, and now it smells a lot closer to Invictus. So now it's actually pretty decent. If you like Invictus. All right, I'll put that back here. We'll come back to it in a little bit. All right, next up is La Rive Cabana. This actually reminds me of the Cuba fragrances, which are also super duper cheap. So let's crack into this and see what this is. Another interesting thing I just noticed, this bottle is 90 mils. That one is 100 mils. Not sure why the difference, but I'm looking and a few of these are 90 mils. So there's the bottle, Cabana. It looks a little bit nicer than the other one, I would say, with the cap here. Looking a little cheap, but I mean, for a $10 fragrance, I guess you would expect that. Okay. So this is kind of like Le Male, Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Male, just the original. Cinnamon, lavender, vanilla kind of thing. It's not super strong. Neither one of them have been really strong, which I kind of would expect. Performance is probably not going to be so great. When you're paying, you know, less than $10 for something, can't really expect it to be a monster. But yeah, this one smells okay. So there we go, 2 down, 4 to go. Next up is La Rive Aqua. Interestingly enough, the box is kind of tan and brown, which doesn't really give off an aquatic feel to me, but let's check this out. And in case anybody is wondering, La Rive is a Polish brand. The fragrances do say fragrance from France on them, but La Rive is a Polish brand. See right there, fragrance from France. Here's the bottle. I am 99% sure this is an Acqua di Gio clone. I am assuming that you think it is as well. Got kind of an old school looking atomizer there. So yeah, this one is Acqua di Gio. It doesn't smell exactly like Acqua di Gio. It's probably like 60%, 50%, something like that. Bergamot, watery notes, maybe some white florals in there. It's okay. It's actually semi-interesting. For a $10 fragrance, it doesn't smell really all that bad, honestly. It's kind of like a different take on Acqua di Gio, but all that being said, Perry Ellis 360 Red is better and is also super cheap. And that one also does a twist on Acqua di Gio, but does it a little bit better. Next up is Hipfire. This looks like a Dollar Tree knockoff of Fahrenheit. Lots of you have seen those before, those horribly named Dollar Tree fragrances that are obvious knockoffs of other fragrances, which I guess that's kind of what we're dealing with here anyway, but that's what this reminds me of. Just horrible, horrible Fahrenheit clones. There is the bottle, Hipfire. Hipfire! Watch, it's gonna smell exactly like vintage Dior Fahrenheit. It's just gonna be awesome. It's a Fahrenheit clone, yeah. obviously. You get the tiniest touch of that petrol opening, gasoline opening that you get from Fahrenheit. There's a little itty bitty bit of that here. It's, you know, violet, maybe a little lavender here too. Not really a surprise either, I guess. Yeah, it's like a super weak Fahrenheit is what the opening smells like. It's decent, it smells okay. Yeah, it's like a super weak Fahrenheit is what it smells like off the open. Just a weak Fahrenheit. So if you like the way Fahrenheit smells, then you'll like the way that smells. We'll check on the dry down later. Next up is Rive Password. Password, I have no clue what this is. Oh, I bet I know what it is actually. I'm assuming this is a play on words, password, code. Armani code for those that don't know what I was getting at. So there is the bottle, Rive Password. Yeah. Armani code. A little bit sweet, maybe a little sweeter than the original code. Doesn't have as much depth, obviously. Doesn't come across as thick or as strong as Armani code, which is kind of par for the course here. These are all on the weaker side. Yeah, it's okay. It's like a sweet code, I guess. Now for the last one, Rive Extreme Story. I have no clue what Extreme Story is supposed to be. It's got a cell phone on the front, so I don't know. Let's crack into this. It's got the same, just about the same kind of box as Password. So looking at this bottle, this looks like probably a Sauvage clone. It's got the same kind of gradient deal going on here. Yeah, smells like a cheaper Sauvage. Not as much oomph, not as much pepper. You've got that kind of metallic ambroxan bergamot opening going on. $15 or under, you probably won't find a better Sauvage clone for that price. So yeah, so those were all the openings. None of them really had anything that was off-putting other than the opening of Brave. I didn't like the first 10 minutes or so. Came across really cheap, detergent smelling, not pleasing at all. But then after 10 minutes, it got a lot closer to the smell that you're gonna get from Invictus. Now obviously none of these came across as 100% clones to me. The quality is not the same as you're going to find in something like Rasasi or Al Haramain or Armoff for that matter. I would put these a few steps above what you're going to find at like dollar stores. It's not that bad. They are legitimate fragrances. They don't come across really super alcoholic. I didn't get any of that. They're obviously going to be a lot more synthetic than a lot of other things that you're going to buy designer-wise. Like, they're not going to come across as well as a Dior or an Armani or anything like that. I went into this expecting them to be a lot worse than they were, but for the price, they're probably about as good as you're gonna do. Outside of something like a Halloween Man or some of the Cuba fragrances, this is pretty much about as good as you're gonna do price-wise. Okay, I'm back. Next up, Brave again. Not bad, not bad. For a $10 fragrance, it's pretty close to Invictus. For that price range, not bad, not bad. Much better than like Axe Body Spray or something like that. If you like Invictus, you should like that. It's pretty close, and for 10 bucks, you're probably not gonna do better for that fragrance. Next up, Extreme Story. This was the Sauvage clone, and now there is an abundance of pepper. So it didn't really pick up as much in the opening, but now there is a ton. Yeah, so that is not as similar to Sauvage as it was in the opening. So the Invictus clone was less like Invictus in the initial opening and then more like it as it dried down, and this is the opposite. That's not as good. Brave is better, but if you're looking for an alternate for Sauvage on the super cheap, you could check that one out. And Password, this was the code, Armani code clone. So this one is a bit weak. The other two weren't super strong other than Extreme Story hitting me with tons of pepper, but this one is fairly weak coming off the tester strip. Now admittedly, these could be different coming off my skin, but I don't have 6 days to test out 6 super cheap clones, so we're gonna do it this way, deal with it. It's a little bit powdery, not as good as it was in the opening. It was a lot sweeter in the opening, not exactly like Code, but still pleasant enough that people would enjoy it. Now it's a little bit on the powdery side, not quite as nice. Still not terrible, but definitely not as good as it was in the opening. And when I say something's not terrible, understand I'm judging it based off it costing $10. Cabana. So this was La Mall, and that one is a lot powdery, a lot powdery. It's gone a lot more powdery than it was in the opening. This is another one that was better in the opening. Quality-wise, it's probably close to Cuba. That one's really well known, that Le Mans clone. It's close. I don't know which one I would choose between them, but that one also, to me, better in the opening. The cinnamon is pretty much gone. It's turned into kind of like a weak powdery vanilla. I don't know. Hipfire. This was the Dior Fahrenheit clone, and this might be the best one so far. It's still a decent Fahrenheit clone. Not as strong as Fahrenheit, like I said, and definitely not a vintage Fahrenheit. It still retains that violet that gives kind of a petrol-y smell in the opening. It's still there. Not bad. That one and Brave are probably the best two so far. And Aqua, which is an Aqua de Joe clone. And that one is still nice too. White flowers, watery type notes. A really similar feel to Aqua de Joe. Nothing new. I mean, that one has been a bestseller for over, what, 2 decades now? Yeah, that one is still pretty good. So I would say the best 3 dry down wise are gonna be Hipfire, Brave, and Aqua. Password and Cabana went really powdery in a not really pleasant way. And then Extreme Story just turned into like a pepper overload. The Ambroxan is just completely dominated by an assaulting pepper note to my nose. Doesn't smell all that great. All right guys, that is my take on these 6 La Rive fragrances. And I think I will go ahead and do a giveaway. So let's go ahead and do a giveaway. Comment down below which of these you would like to try, and I'll pick a random comment using the YouTube random comment picker that I always use, and I'll send you your choice of these La Rive fragrances. So in case you were paying absolutely no attention, that is Brave, which is an Invictus clone, Extreme Story, which is a Sauvage clone, Password, which is a Code clone, Armani Code, Aqua, which is an Aqua de Joe clone, Hipfire, which is a Fahrenheit clone, and Cabana, which is a Le Mans clone. Tell me in the comments which one you're interested in. If you win, you will get one of these fragrances, which has a potential value of $10. It's a good price. And like I said earlier, if you're interested in one of these, go to maxaroma.com, use the code GENTS for 15% off. It will be good for 2 weeks, and you can get 15% off of any fragrance in La Rive's line. This is not their full line, this is just 6 bottles. They actually make a ton of fragrances, a frick ton. So you'll have to go check those out on your own. I don't know what they're all clones of, so look that up on your own, I don't know. Thank you for checking this video out today. We looked at some cheap clones. These are super cheap, so cheap. The cheapest. If you smelled any of these cheap fragrances, let me know what you think about them. As always, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.